This is Sunrise on News Radio 880 KCMX.
Good morning, everybody. 17 minutes after the hour. Welcome to the Sunrise Show. Craig Froenig in as your host, and want to welcome a very special guest today from Veterans Day, Steve Deaton. And Steve Deaton retired Army Warrant Officer 4. And Steve, good morning.
Good morning.
And of course, a U.S. Army veteran.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for coming in. And of course, a shout out to all the U.S. Army guys out there. We did Marines earlier in the season, in the program, but the U.S. Army guys. You had a shout out too, right?
Yes, I did. Gord Wood, James Klug. These are guys in the local area that invest their time and energy into support and welfare of the veterans in the Rogue Valley. And my hat's off to them, and I salute them on this day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Steve, it's interesting with all of the, your combat, you're in Vietnam, and interestingly enough, you were in college, you go to Vietnam, you messed up on the draft thing, so they grab you, right?
Right.
And you do your tour, 4 years, but 1 year in heavy combat and airlifting, right, as a U.S. Army helicopter pilot. Mm-hmm. And then you get back to San Francisco in 1972?
1972. The height, the peak of the anti-war demonstrations, the culmination of the civil disobedience and unrest and the protests against all things civilly wrong with our society, and that mix with the war and the unwelcomeness of the whole Vietnam experience in America. It was a disruptive, unwelcoming reception for not just me, all of the veterans of the Vietnam experience.
So they were coming home, and you basically wanted to get your uniforms off as quickly as possible, right?
Sure, of course. The thing was to duck and cover, right? Run and hide, and reintegrate back into society, but there was no support groups like there are today.
No.
And there isn't enough today, but there is more than the generation that experienced the Vietnam conflict. Unlike any other war that we've ever had, the Vietnam veteran era was not welcome, and their experiences went largely ignored because of our inability to deal with the tragedy of that whole event. And it's good that we're talking about it, and we have a national dialogue about it now, and it's good that we're recognizing and celebrating those sacrifices. Even though, in my opinion, it was a pointless war, I still have trouble coming to terms with what was that all about.
Right. The carnage, and then the thing is you had suffering then, both the folks in country and the Americans that were there, but then it doesn't go away. It's that silent killer almost, right? They come back, and all of you guys, you've suffered the rest of your lives.
Right. And the trick is, and this is true for even veterans today of the Afghan wars and Iraqi wars and on and on and on, all the conflicts that the military's invested in. The trick is to believe in yourself, and believe that your sacrifices were purposeful. Try and have some faith-based belief in the future and rise above the tragedies and celebrate the triumphs and just keep moving forward. That's how I got through it.
I mean, you didn't
in a nutshell.
Well, yeah, but you didn't let it define yourself, right? I mean, this was one of the key elements, is that men and women that came back.
Right. Let me say one thing, and this is a foundation. We have a national holiday called Memorial Day, and it's a collective consciousness to where we all recognize the ultimate sacrifice, the soldiers, the civilians that gave their life to get us where we are today. But what's different about Veterans Day is we celebrate the living. We're not celebrating the dead today, and that makes this holiday special. We need to go out and support the veterans who have made those sacrifices in whatever degree that defines their life or was an experience in their life. and support them and support their cause. Never let them down. Help them make a good faith-based belief in themselves and the future of this country, and thank them for getting us here and into the future.
Well, and it's so well said, Steve. And I talk about leadership on this show so much and the lack of it. Mm-hmm. And here you have incredibly trained American men and women that know what leadership looks like. They know what it feels like. They've seen it in action. They understand it. They understand protocol. They understand respect. They understand those huge words like duty and honor and country. I mean,
right.
they get it.
Yes.
And so why aren't we plugging in to the veterans? It's that lead, follower, get out of the way, and the veterans are great at that.
Well, you know who just exemplifies in my mind what you just said is the new VA director, Robert McDonnell. I was watching an interview with him, and he said basically those same things. Anyone that compromised, because of all the trouble the Veterans Administration
right.
has been engulfed in, or that made it a cumbersome, ineffective organization to help sustain the welfare of our veterans, he said in his reorganization that you must step back and look at our core values. Look at that oath of office that you talked about earlier. Look at what we as a country need to do to support our veterans. And anyone that compromises that oath and those values, we don't need them.
He needs to go. Yeah.
They need to go. We need to reorganize and restructure our support system with people who believe in those things that you talked about.
Exactly.
So my hat's off to him. I wish him a lot of luck. He's got a long road to go to reorganize the Veterans Administration.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Steve, we've got a quick break to take. We've got Steve Deaton in with us, ladies and gentlemen. He's a Vietnam War veteran, 4th Cavalry, the U.S. Army, military helicopter pilot and fixed-wing aircraft pilot now, and he's currently the Director of Flight Operations over at Mercy Flights. And Steve, just thank you for your service. We'll be right back. More. We're just getting going with Steve Deaton right here as we celebrate Veterans Day, and all of you veterans out there in the armed services, we salute you. We'll be right back here on the Sunrise Show on KCMX News Radio 880.
Now, back to Sunrise on News Radio 880 KCMX.
Good morning, everybody. 34 minutes after the hour, continuing our celebration of Veterans Day. We have veteran Steve Deaton in with the studio with us this morning, and he was with the 4th Cavalry at a U.S. Army helicopter pilot, trained in Vietnam, and 650 combat missions in the course of about a year. Huh, Steve?
1 year, October 31st, Halloween night, 1971, to October 31st, 1972, Halloween night.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, scary adventure.
Scary adventure, but you got back, you made it.
The omens, you don't read the signs.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, one of the things, because did you feel like you carried the men that didn't make it back? Did you feel like you owed them something?
Oh, I owe everyone something. When you take that oath of office that you described at the beginning of your show, to defend the Constitution of enemy and defend the United States against enemies, both foreign and domestic.
Yep.
You know, like you said, I'm only reiterating what you said. Those are powerful words. And if you subscribe to that or ascribe to that, if you raise your right hand and put your signature on the bottom of that oath, yes, you are carrying the sacrifices, the burdens, the tragedies, the triumphs of everything at the beginning of the United States of America to the present day and into the future. It doesn't go away. That oath of office, once you say it, once you believe in it, it's yours forever.
Were there military that were defiant, that said, to hell with all this,
well,
and I'm
course.
sick of it, and
that's why Canada is just up the road.
Exactly. I think they went up there. Either before, during, or after. Yeah. You know, So, Steve, fast forward to now, to Americans now. You think we've forgotten?
No, we haven't. We just haven't developed the proper tools and the proper perspective to deal with them. The technologies, the advancements in the direction that we're going, the rate of consumerism, all the problems that plague the United States right now on a societal level. I'm not talking politics.
Right.
The things that we have, I don't think we understand how to use them effectively yet. You know, like I was telling you the other day when we first met, you know, I can run Mercy flights, the pilot flight department, with an electronic device. I can track the airplane, I can track the pilots, I can support them. If they run into trouble, we can transfer messages quickly to resolve issues. But right now we haven't applied that technology in the right manner or fashion to support our veterans. You know, all we're interested in now is where the Kardashians are and what Britney Spears is wearing. We need to change that over and start using that technology to our benefit instead of to our distraction. I think the devices now are I'm not too sure of the future of it. They're the direction we're going. They're distracting. You know, what's the first thing we did with it? We realized that people get in accidents, so we had to pass a law that says no texting while driving. You know, that's nonsensical. We should rise above that kind of level of dialogue and start applying that technology to more useful events. And one of those events, of course, would be to figure out how to support the veterans, the ones that are actively involved in conflicts and the ones that are returning home. There must be an app out there somewhere that'll help us reintegrate or design one.
Well, exactly right. And then you're talking about the veterans that are in their later years in life, and they need all of the support and everything else, and they don't get it, or they are getting it, but it's slow or nonchalant would be the word.
One of the examples, I mean, let me give you an example of what I said, and I go back to Robert McDonald, the new head of the VA, and he said one of the things he's trying to do is one-stop shopping for the veteran. Right now, there's so many different websites a veteran could go to for some kind of support, but they all require a different username and a different password. You know, and so the average person, myself included, let's see, what website is that? Defense Department,
right?
Veteran Services. What password was that? No, what? You know, they ought to know who I am. They have so many records on me from 1971. They even have my fingerprints. Now I have to have like 5 passwords and 5 usernames just to find out where I can file a benefit claim. You know?
They make it difficult. Yeah,
it's very difficult. It's cumbersome. You know, and discouraging to some people.
You know, well, you're absolutely right, Steve. I mean, you know, here's frustration. And it took, I use this example. It took 100,000 Americans to scream out, this is wrong, fix it now, for the federal government to step up. They ended up firing, you know, Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Yeah. You know, it wasn't that he was going to not do anything or he couldn't, because he's very qualified. Right. It's the bureaucracy underneath him that, and okay, on his watch, okay, so people lost confidence. It's a shame because this was going on for multiple years.
Well, see, back in my day, we talked a little bit about my arrival in San Francisco after my Vietnam experience, where there were actual physical bodies protesting whatever cause that they believed in at the time. But we don't do that anymore. We don't have a 1 million man march on Washington,
D.C.
They
should protest.
They should. So what's the device that we need to protest with is where the direction we're going, the social media.
Yeah.
We should effectively utilize that to voice our opinions, to unite, and to get the services and the things that are required to support the welfare of the veteran. It's the tool we have now. It's not the travel and standing on the mall anymore.
Exactly. Steve, we got to go to a quick break. Steve Deaton, ladies and gentlemen, a veteran, Vietnam vet. We'll be right back.
Now, back to Sunrise on News Radio 880 KCMX.
Shout, shout, I'm talking to you, so come on. Shout!
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. 47 minutes after the hour. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Sunrise Show. A real treat, ladies and gentlemen. We've held him over. Steve Deaton, he's a Vietnam veteran and a U.S. Army helicopter pilot for the 4th Cavalry. Flew 650 combat missions in 1 year in his tour of duty, and then back to the States in 1972. But he also continued for flying surveillance in Korea with fixed-wing aircraft, and then he flew cargo planes for Desert Storm. Steve, this is amazing. You just love to fly.
I do love to fly. I think, I don't know what else I would have done. I look back at my career. I once entertained the thought of going to law school, but I saw a helicopter go by, and that changed everything. So
I know.
Let's see, law,
helicopter pilots,
zoning laws, or flying.
No. Get up in the air and be left alone, right? If you're up there in an aircraft, just be left alone.
Well,
minus your crew, whoever you're taking. Yeah.
No, flying is a wonderful experience. You know, if you look back, I was able to make a living, support myself, my family, flying. It's something that 2 generations ago, they never even would have realized that or thought that was possible. You know, so where we are now and look in the future, who knows what's going to happen.
You know, what's interesting, thinking about the best and the brightest, and you've spent pretty much your whole entire life surrounded by incredibly skilled, incredibly talented men and women. That's a huge privilege.
Oh, of course it is, yeah. If you keep an open mind and really enjoy the company of good people, you can learn a lot. You can redefine yourself in better terms, and you can focus and constantly, redefine your values and your lifestyle.
You know, one of the things you said, Steve, is you said most rewarding, bigger and better thing is look outside yourself.
Yes.
Strive to be a part of something bigger than you are.
Well, you have to. That's the only path to extraordinary things. If you think that the world revolves around you and you live your life that way, you will only be disappointed. You know, it doesn't work that way, except maybe in rare individual circumstances. But you have to look for something bigger than yourself, something to believe in, and then immerse yourself in that. And the rewards and the experiences you will enjoy, immeasurable. And you asked me before, I have to give this segue, and I thought about it. What was my most rewarding experience? And in my career, I can honestly say it was the first time I successfully transferred a person in need of medical assistance for mercy flights.
Fantastic.
Yep. And that is what I'm involved in now, and that's the joy and the reward of all these experiences, flying experiences that I've had. I was able to bring all that knowledge, skill, whatever, and experience to the table for mercy flights and enrich or improve their service.
It's not the panic call. It's not the scramble. It's not the business executive jet. It's not taking the cargo. It's not flying surveillance. No. It's taking somebody that truly, truly needs the service, and their family's there, and the only way they're going to make it, the only way they're going to survive is to get on that medical transport and get to point B.
Get them where they need the medical attention that they require. And that is immeasurably rewarding.
Yeah, we had Doug Stewart, CEO for Mercy Flights on. It was a fantastic conversation about, air transport, and I would encourage everyone to get to their websites, mercyflights.com. It's just incredible what they do, and of course it's membership and things like that. But Steve, as we finish, I wanted to, I want to give you this.
Oh, birthday cake.
It's a birthday cake for you. I don't have any candles on it because I didn't want to celebrate, all those years. But
is it plastic? Looks plastic.
It's chocolate with whipped cream and some Oreos and things like that. But I wanted to say happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you very much.
And I don't know if you're a cake guy or not, but we'll cut into that right after we get off the show and pass around some cake and celebrate your birthday. Born on Veterans Day. Did I ever born on Veterans Day, how did that work for you with your dad in the Navy for so many years?
Yeah, my father was in the Navy, but he was deployed somewhere on a ship, and my mother gave birth to me at Camp Pendleton Marine Hospital on Veterans Day. And so that started it all, right?
I'm thinking it did.
The doctor slapped me on the butt, and I was in the Navy. That was it.
Oh, gosh. We could go on and on and on. But, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Deaton, ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam veteran. And, of course, he's flown in the Korea conflict with the surveillance and Desert Storm. You've flown all around the world. And, Steve, your life has been full of flying all types of machines. And we're just thrilled to have you and thrilled to have you in the studio. And
well, thank you very much for this. And thanks for the cake. And thanks for your support to the veterans. And thanks for your voice.
I got a little card here, too.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say Deb Holden is with me. She's from Mercy Flights. And call Mercy Flights, ask for Deb if you need any more information about
For membership services, right? Yeah. Give out that phone number. What's
541-858-2600. And ask for Deb Holden.
There you go. Yeah. No, they're a gem in the Rogue Valley, and thrilled to have them here. And I can't imagine the Rogue Valley without them. So.
Yeah, I can't either.
I know. Exactly right. We'll be back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Veterans Day to all you veterans out there. Give them a handshake, give them a hug, smile at them, whatever it takes. Let them know they're loved and cared for, because they are where the leadership starts, and they're the beginnings of tomorrow. Steve, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Happy Veterans Day to everyone.
We'll see you back on the Sunrise Show tomorrow morning. The Bloomberg Market Update is coming up next.